Do you know what consultants actually do? How the life of a consultant at an MBB firm like McKinsey, BCG or Bain actually looks like? In today's video, we're going to take an alternative view at this topic. We will analyze the life of a consultant by reviewing memes from a big consulting meme channel. So the purpose of this is not only that we're going to have some fun together, but I will also explain to you whether the memes are actually accurate. I will provide some insights into the insider jokes that are sometimes present in these memes. So I trust that by looking at this video, not only are you going to have some fun, but you will also learn something new. So stick with me until the very end, because I really believe that every single meme has a little lesson to it, a little insight to it that I hope to bring over. Welcome to another coffee break here on my channel Firm Learning. My name is Heinrich, and on my channel I want to help you to become successful in the first years of your career. If you are a regular watcher of this channel, welcome back. And if you're new on this channel, I want to pass on some of my experiences, having been a consultant at Accenture and McKinsey, and now working in a C-level role of a German retailer. On this channel, I give career advice, I talk about consulting and management, and I help you with some technical skills in Excel and PowerPoint that you need to succeed in a business job. But now, without further ado, let's jump into it. So for the memes, we're looking at the Instagram page of Crazy Management Consultants. So there are many consulting meme channels out there. Crazy Management Consultants is probably my personal favorite. So if you're interested in this type of content, check it out. I can very much recommend it, and I will leave a link to their Instagram account below in the video description. And of course, the credits for all these memes go to Crazy Management Consultants. So thank you very much for this. Now I already pre-selected a couple of the memes that I want to talk about with you guys today. So let's just start. So here's now a comparison of types of headaches: migraine, hypertension, stress, and staffed on DD. And obviously here the DD seems to stress you out the most and create most headaches, right? But what is a DD and why is it so stressful? So a DD stands for due diligence. So what this means is that if somebody wants to buy a company, you need to do the due diligence, right? So you need to check the company, you need to look into it, look into all the books and so on. And the reason why DDs are so stressful are for two reasons. So first, they're often in a very short amount of time. So typical DD goes on for 2, 3 or 4 weeks. There's lots of things that need to be accomplished in the short amount of time. And then second, the clients you work for are usually super professional and are also used to work a lot. So if you get staffed on a DD, yes, you might learn a lot. It might still be very interesting, but be aware that in terms of lifestyle, it can be one of the most horrible things that happen to you. Okay, next. So every consultant I'm getting out of here by end of the year, and then same consultant 7 years later. Why am I still here? That indeed very frequently people in the beginning say, oh, I'm just going to stay 1 or 2 or 3 years and then I'm going to leave. But then many people indeed end up staying for much longer. And the reason it probably is that, of course, the consulting firms make it quite comfortable for you, right? The salaries and of course also all the additional benefits that you have while you work in such an MBB consulting firm. These are of course great. And of course you always have also the next designation window in front of you. So it's always very tempting for you to just stay 1 more year. Okay, next. And here we now have a little clip. So watch carefully. So yeah, I mean, here the joke, of course, is that the more senior, really the older guys, like partners, I mean, yes, they might know what a VLOOKUP is and they are great. But of course, the guys who are really strong in Excel, these are the juniors, right? These are the business analysts, maybe the associates, who really are pretty much spending 50% of their whole time working in Excel. And of course, this is really amazing. The level of proficiency that you get if you work for 1 or 2 years in tools like Excel, this will be far superior than, let's say, 98% of all employees, even managerial accountants in large corporate firms. So this is for sure something that you will learn, and it is a skill that might be quite significantly valued in other companies as well. Okay guys, next one. Someone I have a PhD in physics, me I have a PTSD in consulting. So of course now take this with a grain of salt. Now by no way I want to belittle people who really have PTSD, so I now by no means believe that, you know, the stress of consulting leads you into this. The truth is of course that working in consulting can can be quite stressful. And I do think that actually there are some people who have some type of traumatic experiences also after they spend several years there. And in the end, it's all about how you deal with stress and anxiety. And if this is a topic that you are interested in, I made a video about that actually last week. So I will link it somewhere above here. Check it out if you want to learn more about this. But okay, next, let's move to another topic. So people who use pie charts. First of all, clients, high school students, other non-consultants, and virtual interns about to get fired. And indeed here the fun thing is that consultants almost never use pie charts. I mean, this is just the truth because it's just not a great way to visualize your data in most instances. And if you want to learn more about that, I made a whole video course about how you can create PowerPoint presentations in the style of leading consulting firms. So if this is something you're interested in, check out the link below in the video description. It's my best-selling course. I trust you can learn a lot of things from there, so check it out if you're interested. Next, Bezos. Hey, need those Q2 earnings slides, but please don't waste more than an hour on them. Fifth grader who just learned PowerPoint, okay? And now here you see these slides, which apparently indeed are from an actual conference call from Amazon. So now I do not know whether this is really true, but I guess it is, right? And indeed now if you look at these slides, they just look completely unprofessional. And again, if you wonder and if you don't see why it's unprofessional, then let me hint you again to this course that I was just talking about. And here, of course, what you unfortunately see quite often, that even these very large firms like Amazon, they somehow don't really seem to have employees who are good in working with PowerPoint. Next, and this is actually a meme that I've seen quite frequently in the last week, so this somehow went pretty viral. So what this shows is an actual or maybe also fake LinkedIn profile of a consultant who says then, okay, what was my role across, these different roles that I had at the firm? And here as an associate, my role was to make pretty slides fast. As an engagement manager, so as a project lead, it was more make other people make pretty slides fast. And then as an associate partner, it was about convincing clients pretty slides will lead to real impact. And of course, this is now, making a bit fun of this cliche of consultants that all they do is creating pretty slides. And unfortunately, it is the truth that of course in consulting, as everywhere, projects can also fail. And then indeed the only thing that's left is pretty slides. But of course, from my experience, this is a bit too simplistic. There were many projects that I worked on that, yes, that really delivered great impact, where I believe not only us as consultants, but also the clients were super satisfied and happy with the results. And there I would believe it was just completely unfair to say that the only thing that was created in the end were slides. Now, next one, partner comments at 2 a.m. be like, please turn into chart, thanks, and then a weird scribble. And guys, this really happens, right? So this is really kind of from an associate perspective, the cliche that, a partner walks in, or maybe also your project lead, he makes a weird scribble of a page and then he sends it to you and then he wants you to create a page out of there. And then you look at it, and in the case of the partner, maybe then you ask the whole team, to look at this and try to come up with what this actually was supposed to mean. And then it's really hard. So, this is just what it is, guys. This is indeed what your life as a consultant will look like. Next, when there's a fire in your office, but you are also a consultant. So there's a fire alarm and then the consultants walk out with their laptops and then still try to work outside. And frankly, this happens, right? And this happens not only rarely, because on every project, because usually it's part of the drill routine that every couple of months there's a mock fire alarm. And then of course, as a consultant, you are exposed to that as well. And there is hearsay of teams that they maybe, still stayed in the building. But this of course would be against all protocols and you will get hugely into trouble. So of course, as a consultant, you are supposed to leave the building if there's a fire alarm, guys. So for sure you should leave the building. And if maybe you have a project lead who is a bit unexperienced and suggests that you should stay because you have this work to do, no, guys, stand up and tell him to leave because you will get into huge trouble. I mean, I've heard crazy stories about this. But then of course, unfortunately, as a consultant, you working on tight timelines, you cannot, wait for hours standing outside of the building and waiting until this mock fire alarm goes off. So indeed what happens is that often you will take your laptop and then you will go outside and then you will indeed sit somewhere outside to try to get your work done. But of course, also here be careful, because then it's best, if it's possible, to not do it in front of the whole company of the client, because it will make you look a bit ridiculous. So always try to manage the impressions here a little bit. Okay, next one. I have a consulting joke, but it's hard to execute it. So yeah, this is just, making fun a bit of consultants, because consultants apparently are bad at execution. They can talk a lot. They can draw, nice strategy presentations. Probably everything that they say is somehow correct, but then they underestimate how difficult it can be really to execute the things. And frankly, I necessarily would not have thought that when I was still working in consulting, but now reflecting on my time in consulting, I would say that this is true, this is accurate. And again, I also made a video about that, about the things that you do not learn in consulting. I will also link it somewhere above here, but this is accurate. And if you want to learn more about this, check out this video that I linked above. Okay, next one, what my PowerPoint deck is made of, right? So what is it made of? And a big part copied from existing deck. So for sure, you will always recycle pages from maybe other presentations that you did maybe a week ago that are a bit similar, and then you can recycle some pages. Then for sure, there are some partner whiteboard scribbles in there. So we talked about these crazy scribbles that partners might make on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, and then you will try to translate that into a chart. Info from Google and Wikipedia. So here I would say not that much. So we personally, we didn't really use data from Wikipedia, because then you also will need to put a source next to the data, right? And then you cannot just quote Wikipedia. So this is unprofessional. So this isn't really what I've seen. Then next, client data nicely formatted. And here I would say actually the share is much larger, right? So very frequently you will get client data, and then of course you might do some analysis with it. But I would say a big part of your whole presentation is often, at least of course depends on the project context, is analyze, process data from your clients. Quotes from experts. So this for sure. So you will always have more qualitative pages, which pretty much draw from interviews that you have with experts, either external or internal experts that you have, but then you get some knowledge from. Highly illustrative analysis. Yeah, so this is something, very rough that you put in there. For sure this happens. So then partner deleting pages they previously asked to add. So yes, this happens a lot. This for sure happens. So this is just the truth, I can tell you. Then indeed one next steps page. So this is also the cliche that in the end you always have one page in the very end of your presentation talking about next steps. Then yes, a huge appendix. So pretty much slides that for whatever reason you created throughout the whole process. But in the very end, then you decide to just put it to the appendix, and then this adds up to 420. So guys, with the qualifications that I just said, actually I believe probably, the shares are roughly accurate. I would say now that an average deck has less than 420 pages, right? In all fairness, a big Steerco deck, a big one probably has 100 to 150 pages. But just if you're asking yourself what types of pages you will have in your consulting deck, yes, this is accurate. This is what you will need to do, guys. I hope this was indeed insightful. If you have any questions, leave me a comment below. And if you leave a comment, not only will you get my answer, I will provide my best insight to the question that you might have, but you are also helping me out a lot, because every comment helps me tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. So if you did take any value out of this video at all, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and also subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on all my content. If you want to see even more from me, also follow me on my Instagram account. My handle is Firm Learning, and I also have a mailing list. There's a sign up link to that in the video description below. I now want to say thank you to all the members of Firm Learning. Your contribution really means a lot to me. So if you want to help me and support my channel as well, there's a join button next to the subscribe button where you can become a member. And as a member, not only are you supporting my work, but you have also access to some member only perks. So check it out if this is something that you might be interested in. As you know, I'm releasing a new video every single Saturday, so I'm very much looking forward to see you again in 1 week. And until then, good weekend to all of you guys. Bye bye.